So our first session is going to be Dave Armstrong. He is not only our state representative, but he's also the director of the Barron County Economic Development Corporation, and he is also the director of Barron County Tourism. So he's very qualified to talk about, he's going to talk about funding, where to look for money. We had 3 things. I can't remember what the 3 things are. Anyway, he will have no trouble coming up with it when he gets up here, so.
Yeah, we'll see. And then I don't know how much I'll give you more information than what you just heard, but how many folks here use AI? Okay, 1, 2.
You don't have a choice.
Yep, no, you have to. How about use AI for fundraising?
No.
Okay, when I get this done, when I get done here, I'm gonna email you. You've got all the emails for everybody, right? And I'll send it out to you. Number one, when you say AI, it's not just a singular term. There's a ton of them. ChatGPT, Grok, OpenAI, Copilot, Gemini. Just for grins, I went through and just asked all of them yesterday, fundraising for museums in Wisconsin, right? ChatGPT gave me 2.5 pages. Probably some of you use already. Wisconsin Arts Board, Wisconsin Humanities, Department of Public Instruction, Federation of Museum Grants, mini grants, Humanities Major Grants, Ruth Foundation for the Arts, Kohler Foundation grants. Then you can go down rabbit holes with them and start asking specifics. One thing I asked is opportunities for interactive exhibit technology. Shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grants for that. I went to Claude. Anybody use Claude? Claude AI? And they change about every 3 months right now because AI started slowly with ChatGPT. Now its growth is exponential. There's no stopping it at this point. And it's almost scary, some of the things that it can do and what it possibly would be able to do somewhere down the road. So everybody's watching it right now. They say that the latest versions of ChatGPT, Grok, etc., are about a 155 IQ. Okay, Einstein was 160, I think. The next version of GPT and Grok are supposed to be out later this year. They said that it'll be 10 times that. All right. So it's amazing things that are going on, but it's also very scary, some of the things that could potentially happen because of it. But, like for example, as you mentioned, I'm doing tourism for Barron County. We also do manage the tourism for City of Rice Lake. All right, part of the tourism is we gotta write blog posts. Dave's not gonna write a blog post for tourism. ChatGPT does a really good job of writing blog posts for tourism. Sometimes I swear they know Barron County better than I do. It's, like I said, scary. So every week, AI's writing our blog posts. We do intense marketing. It's not cheap, but we do it. Rice Lake spends about $100,000 a year on marketing. The county, we spend about $20,000, $25,000 a year. I can, like for example, if I would have dropped a geofence around here this morning, and if you all have cell phones, I'd know exactly who was here. And I would know your email addresses, and I could reach back out to you and target market you for something to do with Pioneer Village. All right, and we use it all the time. We've got a permanent geofence around Barron County, so I know who's comes in, and then we reach back out and target market to come back to Barron County.
How expensive would it be for us to do that here?
I'll ask, because it's all part of our, and I don't have it locked out as far as like line item things, but I'll find out. Things that we do that are fun too is like last year we geofenced the Minnesota State Fair. All right, so now we can start sending, which we did, ads to people at Minnesota State Fair about Barron County, and then when they hit the geofence here, I know who showed up. So we know if our marketing dollars are being used or not being used.
Who do you go through?
AGI, the newspaper,
Yeah.
they've got a separate company they purchased that does all of the marketing side of it.
They came and talked to us, it was pretty pricey.
Yeah, but I think if you kind of, well, let's talk, because I may be able to move you into mine type of thing and see if I can split out some of mine for your stuff. So there's a lot of ways we can do this.
Hoosier Radio came and talked to us about it too, but theirs was not, maybe not as effective, and it wasn't as much money. I think that was like $500 a month, and I think we did try that for a little bit, didn't we?
3 months.
But I don't know that we noticed that it moved
Couldn't
the,
tell the difference.
No, we did Rice Lake did a trial between them and the APG for, 2 years ago for a year to see who was better results. They stuck with APG after that because they were much better. And I can track everything in our marketing stuff as far as who we're contacting, who responds to it, et cetera, et cetera. And like the response of the retargeting has been phenomenal with APG. So I know it's working and I know people are showing up. Part of it too is like tourism, state tourism measures dollars spent. Barron County is blessed from the standpoint of in northwest Wisconsin, including Eau Claire all the way up, we're number 3 as far as spend. Last year was $168 million was spent in Barron County just on tourism. So it's good spend. Hudson beat us, St. Croix County, which they're kind of a bedroom community to Twin Cities now, but it still makes me mad because they overtook us about 5 years ago. And then Eau Claire will always beat us because of the size of them, but to be number 3 up here is great. And so it's, like I said, $168 million, supports 1,400 jobs, so it's important to the region. So when you look at these, and I'll, like I said, and I've got links in all of these as well, I'll get them out to you. Then I went to Claude, and Claude looked at them, and again, a lot of them you're gonna see the same stuff, but each of them, what I found, each AI has a different, I don't want to say specialty, but they're all trained, right? When they create an AI, they've got to train it on something. Kind of the scariest things when you say training is ChatGPT, when they first started, they opened it up to the entire internet. Don't know if that was a good idea or not, but it knows everything on the internet, if you can even wrap your head around that one, okay? But it also has bias. All of the AIs have some sort of bias based on what team did it and created it. And it's interesting when you start asking the same questions to different ones to see some of the variations. If you get into politics, it's hilarious asking them questions because you can tell who trained either of the versions. Now, I've got one AI that we've purchased that we're training ourselves that has no bias. That can be kind of scary because the answers it gives you is whatever it finds. Some of the answers you may not want. Some of the answers you definitely don't want people looking at because there is no filter on them. So it's some of the, ask it how to make a bomb, it'll tell you exactly how to make a bomb. You ask Grok, you ask Claude, you ask any of those, sorry, we can't tell you that. So the uncensored ones are interesting because it can do deep dives where the others won't, all right? And it's legal as of right now. All the different states are jockeying for laws to put guardrails on AI, but I kind of think it's too late for it because the genie's pretty much out of the box on AI right now. So good thing and bad. Good thing is I guess I'll jump over to economic development. The biggest issue I have here constantly, I hear from employers, is lack of employees. It's hard to understand because we're not having the amount of babies we used to have, right? Very simple. We've moved from a rural-based economy to industrial-based. Any civilization ever that's done that, your children plunge because you don't need the labor, you don't need the big farm families. You have a better healthcare system than you did. You don't have, kids dying in childbirth like they did a long time ago. So right now, like example, my mom, Baldwin, Wisconsin, 9 kids. Her dad, Clayton, Wisconsin, the Kittlesons, 12 kids. Us, 4, my kids, 2. So, and that's pretty much what's happening with everybody. I keep telling my kids, think 3. Think 3. Our replacement rate is 2.2 in the United States. We're at 1.67. So we've got more people passing than are being born. That'll catch up eventually. If you look at other places around the world, China is shot. All right, their one-child policy they had for almost 2 generations killed them as a country. All right, they're actually losing population each year now. Japan, their population last census went down because they're not having kids. All right, so something to think about.
Too late.
Yeah, that's what I figure. If you start having them now, they're 18 years before they're any good to me, probably at this point. But then on the flip side, my daughter number 2, I had to tell her, all right, slow down. You've done your job. You don't need to make up for everybody else, because she had 3 by the time she was 30. So, but anyway, so back to this though. So I've got the Claude. I did Grok again. Grok brought out some of the same information, but different information. And I'll send that to you as well. Now, Copilot is a Microsoft product. That's their AI. They came out with some information too, but then they brought up some links which were interesting. Has anybody heard of Dojiggy? DOJIGGY.com. DOJIGGY.com. It's got a specific for fundraising for museums. It was fascinating when I went through there. Then there's another one called Big C, BIGSEA.co. Another one, museum fundraising. Again, some interesting pieces on there.
What was the name of that one?
Big C, BIGSEA.co. Another one, museum fundraising. And then they had a lot of, you can start going down the rabbit holes. They had specific stuff for how do you get grants for railroad museums or railroad exhibits. So that's in here as well. And again, I'll send that out to you also. And then different ways to do, which I know, I used to be on the board here for Pioneer Village, so I know we've done some of these things too, but had some great information here. And I'll talk a little bit about budget, I guess, right now too, state budget. We're working on state budget right now. The Assembly, which I can speak for, is treating it different than the Senate right now. The Assembly's working on a budget just as if we've got to do a budget. It won't be done on time this year, I guarantee you. I think we'll be lucky if we have it by October of this year, and normally we're done in June. I think we'll have ours done faster than the Senate has theirs done. Our process is the governor's budget lands, we look at the budget, see what it is, decide what we're gonna do with it, and then we start either rebuilding it or using pieces of it. We're doing both. So we're using pieces of his budget, rebuilding some of it. The Assembly, each of us has somebody on joint finance in the Assembly. They're called our budget buddies, all right? I've already met with mine twice. The Senate hasn't met with theirs at all. So they're way behind us at this point. 2 reasons. More on the Senate side is, there was, everybody heard of the infamous 400-year veto for education? That's in court right now, right? So the Senate's kind of waiting to see what happens with that before they pass a budget. I don't think they're gonna get away with that. I think we're gonna have to pass a budget. Then there was another one too where the governor can line item veto any bill that has funding attached to it, a fiscal, all right? The rest of them, it's just an up or down veto. He actually vetoed one that didn't have funding to it. He line item vetoed it. We're in court again on that one. And so the Senate's looking at how do we pass a budget if we don't know what he can veto or what he can't veto at this point. So Assembly, not that the Senate's bad, it's just we're working at it different ways. We're working as if there's a budget, and then they're slowly working on theirs. I can do budget requests, all right? I've done 3 so far, and they vary widely. One budget request I did was special education for school districts to bring it up 5%, some certain, some sufficient. There's a difference between some certain and some sufficient. I can do a libraries one type of thing. I can do a museum if I wanted to. And I know the Historical Society, I think, was in last week, if I remember right, or the week before, doing their lobbying effort with all of the assemblies. So, so we get to make those. I typically will put in 10 budget requests per session. Don't get them all. I've been fairly successful. I think I get probably 8 out of the 10, roughly.
For specific organizations, or just for, in general, we're gonna do something?
Both. Like, for example, well, last session I did one specific for the vet lab here in Barron for a $9 million expansion for them, and we got it, type of thing. So you can do specifics or just things that you want to add to the budget, type of thing. So if you guys have an ask as far as the Historical Society goes, just let me know and we'll figure out what we need to do as far as a budget request on it. When I do a budget request, I've got to find somebody in the Senate that'll run it as well. Then what I've got to do is I've got to write up a bill for the budget request. It's enabling legislation, and then I insert it into the budget, so you've got the money there for it, all right? So that's kind of our process. So if we need to do something, we can do that. You had asked specifically about what, publishing grants? Okay, what kind of publishing? Because that was interesting, and when I just went in there for, Perplexity is another one that's really good. Like, for example, I never use Google for a search engine anymore, because if you search something in Google, you get ads forever about what you just searched. It drives me insane. So I use Perplexity for the search, never get an ad. I just get the search. So anyways, yeah, there's all kinds of publishing grants that it showed here. Decorative Arts Trust Publishing Grants, Wyeth Foundation Publishing Grant.
Specifically, what we're looking at is there was a woman who put together a history of Turtle Lake back in the 50s and the 60s. However, it was her intention that it was going to be published, but she died of cancer in 1969. So these articles that she wrote showed up in a local newspaper, and they're quickly deteriorating. You know, we've got in the library, we've got the big book with all those articles. So we've taken those, transcribed what she had, and then I've restored the photographs that she did. And so, you know, it's a history that was written a number of years ago, but didn't ever get published. Right. And so we're on the cusp of you know, publishing it. And so that's what we're...
Dave, you can do that free through Amazon's. You just buy the books that ask, if you can put the book together in a file, you can do it for free. It doesn't cost you anything to publish except when you go to buy the books.
Right.
And then you pay for them.
Yeah, it's about,
Stop in at the obsolete media lab and we'll set you up.
yeah, yeah. It's about 200 pages.
No problem.
Yeah. So,
Okay, good. So where's everybody from? So Turtle Lake,
Turtle Lake, yeah.
Yep. Amory,
Frederick.
Frederick, Clear Lake,
Luck.
Luck,
Bruce.
Birchwood. Webster,
Birchwood.
Birchwood, okay,
Falls.
yep,
St. Croix Falls.
okay.
Also
Probably the
Lake.
farthest one away.
Cushing,
Which one?
Cushing.
Cushing, oh, okay. All right, so right around the region though, okay. And is this all, you're all, how about Chautauqua? Is Chautauqua here or not?
No,
She didn't make
they
it?
haven't been here for a while. Barron.
Oh,
Haven't been here for a while.
oh, interesting, okay. So all of you are basically museums like what you've got, right? Correct?
Historical
Right.
Society.
Historical Society, okay.
Yeah.
We don't have any historic houses here.
Historical.
Oh, yeah, you guys do.
One of the other things that we're looking to do, and we're right on the cusp of doing this also, is moving an old church about 4 blocks to put it, next to the museum. So, we know what it's gonna cost, just, funding for doing that, so
So it's more just fundraising for that.
yeah.
I'm over there all the time, my mom.
Yeah,
My
yeah, I
mom
know.
and dad, they say my mom
Your
now,
your
yeah,
dad died, but
Yep.
yeah, we know where they live.
yeah, okay.
Is there funding for things like re-imaging, because we're trying to change from a more local history organization to a more regional? Is there ever any funding for something like that?
Don't know, but I'll find out. So like a rebranding,
Yeah. And as long as you're doing that, what about for building our Native American villages or anything for that?
which tribe are you working with on that one?
Both the LCO and the St. Croix.
Good, okay, good. They'll help with that. And I'll talk with Michael on that, because I let Michael for years to try to get that one.
Michael's made lots of promises.
Yeah, I know, you gotta, Michael, you gotta pin him down. Yeah, Michael's great though, And then what you gotta do is you gotta use Michael to get to their economic development group, which most people don't even know they have. Yeah, and it's a past chair of the tribe that's now heading up their economic development group.
That's for all the Ojibwe?
No, just for St. Croix.
Just for St. Croix.
Yeah, I don't do much with LCO, I've always worked with St. Croix because they're here in Barron County, so I've gotten to know them very well. Yeah, but let me help on that one. Has he said that they'll give anything yet for that or not?
About 5 years ago, he said they would build it.
That's what I figured, that's what I was saying.
Right now, though, we have the Thomas Fowler's wife and sister are both interested in helping with it, and he either is the head of their council right now, or he's a council member, but I think he's the head of the council.
Okay. All right, I'll talk with Michael, because in fact, it's good timing, because he's getting me in front of their economic development people. Because through the economic development side, I work with a lot of tribal members. A lot of them are starting businesses. Depending on what's happened in the past, it's hard for me sometimes to find funding for them, but the tribe doesn't fund them, and they should, because they've got a lot of money they're sitting on that they can use for economic development. And so that's kind of been pitched to them is, help me help your guys start businesses. Okay. Has LCO said anything?
Not as a whole group, but there's a lot of,
Sure, it'd be great.
yeah,
You know,
a lot of that, and yeah, we would help. Our young people would be glad to come and help.
who was drumming here? It was before, it was St. Croix tribe, right?
Actually, no, it was Bad River.
Bad River.
We've had St. Croix,
Yep.
but lately it's been Bad River.
Okay. Okay. All right, let me work on that. Any specifics anybody else has or not? Specific needs?
Yeah. Come and visit our museum.
I know, I've never been there. I'm at Moss all the time,
It's
but I've
about
never
4
been there.
blocks away from
Yeah.
your mom's, you know?
Okay, yeah, I say get over there all the time, but,
Yeah.
all right, I'll do that.
They've all got needs. Everybody, we talk about it all the time at our meetings.
What are some,
Well, so I just have a quick question, right? So a lot of us are from Polk County, so
Yeah.
our economic development group would be a little bit different.
Yeah.
But do you have any recommendations for kind of the ways to approach economic development? Like to kind of get not only just a connection with them, but like how to kind of get an ask or, you know, because I know they focus more on, you know, businesses, not necessarily nonprofits, so.
see,
You
and,
know.
but that's part of it, and I've been trying to get it through, and it's worked to a certain degree, all right? All right, when you look at economic development, it's everything, all right? Because from employers, I hear workforce, I hear housing, I hear childcare, constantly. We need more workforce. Well, let's have more housing, let's have more childcare, I'm not gonna get more workforce, right? And then it comes down to who's moving here? And what are we gonna give them to move here? I gotta give them some amenities, you guys. I have to, because I'm competing with Eau Claire, and I'm competing with the Twin Cities, all right?
But I would think St. Croix County, they're moving there from the Twin Cities.
They are, but it's still, but if you look at like Polk County though, for example, they're making inroads right now with housing, right? So the question, we did a countywide housing study 2019, and it worked, because then developers started coming, because you could prove I need housing.
Sure.
They did it 2022, I think they started, so he's working on it right now. But again, what it boils down to is, all right, you're trying to get young families to move back here, what do you got for those young families? And when I ask the cities that, dead silence. You know, same thing as, give me your pitch. Why Rice Lake? Why Barron? Why Amory? Why St. Croix Falls? Why, and most of them just stop. You gotta get a pitch, but you gotta have amenities too along with that. And that's what I keep trying to tell all of these cities, is you gotta give the young families something to come back to. A day out here a couple of times a year, the museums, just amenities that are plentiful in the Twin Cities, or even in Eau Claire, but not necessarily up here, because we aren't gonna get them to come back unless we give them something to do, type of thing. We did a survey here 2 years ago of everybody, but I was concentrating on the, say, 24 to 45. And the biggest single thing they came up with, there's nothing to do with kids December, January, February, March. Nothing. Unless you wanna go outside and freeze. Yeah. But there is nothing. And that's one thing I keep telling the cities, what are you gonna do to address that? And there's stuff that people are working on, but if you got facilities like this, or museums, et cetera, invite the families in. Just give coffee and some of this stuff for the parents to chat with each other. Just make sure the kids don't break something, but, I mean, you're gonna have them running all over the place, but that's my biggest issue, is there is nothing up here.
Well, I disagree with that.
I agree, but
As kids.
I gotta be able to push it, right?
Yeah, I know, but, you know, people wanna be entertained, they don't know how to make their own entertainment.
That's how it is today, I agree. Yep, yes, ma'am.
Do you guys ever address, like, helping the counties with garbage? I mean, to me, we're hiking the Ice Age Trail, and when we come back, and we say that, because we live in the village of Bruce, and it's getting to be a dump. And we go, oh, we were in Pepin. We walked all around the town, there is no garbage there. We just got back from Lodi. We saw one house that needs to be repainted. It's not like that in Russ County. And I'm just wondering, I mean, I think the counties need help.
Yeah, and a lot of it too is where's their priorities, what are they focused on? We have help for that stuff with state programs that they can go after if they choose to, especially on the housing side of it. We passed 5 bills last year for like $550 million worth of housing programs. Some of them were renovation programs, and there were loans that you didn't have to pay back until you sell the house, type of thing. So you can get stuff fixed in it right now. So, yeah, but again, it's more of who at the county is gonna be responsible for that, to reach out and find those things. I know they're there, but Rusk doesn't even have an economic development person, I don't think, right now. Because I've been helping Henry over there get the growth and all the buildings over there. So, but yeah, there is programs, but it's,
Yeah, because that's a problem.
yeah, and I think the biggest problem probably with the state is there's no first call for help. There's no place you can call at the state, and that was always my problem for economic development. It's like, if I have a need, it's like dialing for dollars. I just gotta dial and dial. Do you have some for this? No. Try here, and then I do, no, try here. So there is no first call for help type of thing. I need this, where do I go? And that would be an issue to look at, but really good issue. I didn't think about it till just now when you said that. But I ran into it all the time. When I was doing just economic development, I had no idea who to call. Do you know, what was the budget request for the Historical Society this year? Do you know any specifics of it or not?
Are you asking about the Wisconsin Historical
Yep.
Society?
Yep.
I don't recall the exact budget amount, and so I don't want to make a guess that's inaccurate, but I'll look it up while you're talking. Our request this year includes our usual biennial request
Yep.
for operations of the State Historical Society, plus additional funding as we look towards opening the new Wisconsin History Center
Yep.
in 2027.
Okay, I'll look it up too, because I got my
Okay.
budget binder, but this big, it takes me forever to
Oh, I
page
bet.
through it to try to find it. And
I
know,
appreciate the question, yeah.
because I know you guys outfitted my office with pictures, photographs. All my
Yes.
pictures are from the Historical Society. I've got-
That's one of the coolest programs that the society offers as new legislators come into office, or on a rotating schedule. They can request portraits and images from the society's collections. And so our collections care and access team works with the legislators in the state capitol to help select and display these wonderful portraits and images, these treasures from the collection that typically are housed at our State Archives Preservation Facility in Madison. And so it's this really unique way that the society and our elected officials work together to kind of showcase. And oftentimes there's like a connection to a particular person or place that we can help highlight too, so.
Yeah, in my office, I've got two, I live in Rice Lake, so I got two in Rice Lake. I stare at the Carnegie that they tore down. Who tears down the Carnegie? The Carnegie they tore down, and then I've got the original Rice Lake City Hall, which is still standing, repurposed now. And then in the outer office, I've got one from Turtle Lake, and I've got a train depot, I think the Barron train depot, the original one, Barron as well up there, so, yeah, it's neat. So, I'll give you a little tutorial on AI, and I'll send you documents on that with a ton of different links. I'm gonna see if I can find one of the uncensored ones that's good, because they'll scare you sometimes. But I'm also I started running it this morning, but Jeff came in, so I didn't have, our county administrator came in, so I got waylaid there for a bit. But then I'll send you that one as well, so you can run some searches on it. Museum fundraising, just event fundraising. It's fun watching some of the different things you can do. And like I said, you can go down the rabbit hole on a topic for forever with these things. And it's just fascinating, some of the information that comes out from them, because I would never be able to find this kind of information. It would take me a week to come up with just what these few searches did in 15 minutes, 10 minutes type of thing.
So your actual, what you were going to talk on, you pretty much hit it, but it's promotions, grants, and ways to grow. Do you have any other ways to grow, maybe?
Yeah, I was gonna hit on the one point of, you gotta get with your municipalities, because it's in their best interest to promote you, it really is. Because they've got it, they need to get better at showing the amenities in the city. We're also not gonna get people to move there, that's the whole point. When you look at Barron County's blessed, I think, with location more than you think, it's still growing, right? So it's still going, the only one city that isn't, Barron, they actually lost population, but we're trying to work on that as well. I didn't look up the rest of the counties around us. Rusk, I know, is losing population. Washburn lost a little bit on population last time.
How about Burnett County?
That one I'd have to look up.
There aren't very many people in Burnett County.
Yeah, I know, that's part of it, and I think what you're getting is a lot of the weekenders from the cities are coming up and buying up,
Yes.
which kills your school district and other things as well. But, and see, that's what, eventually you gotta get to the point where I'm trying to flip those into full-time residents. One of the places, the low-hanging fruit, if we can get back to them, is here in the county, about 50% of the kids that graduate every year go off to college, never to come back. You know, sometimes 60%. I kind of like them to come back, you know. And so they're the key. Go do your thing, go do your college, go do your, but when you're ready to have family, come on back here. But that's where we need to give them something to come back to. So I think we're coming little by little on that, but we gotta get better at that.
Does that work with you on what they're doing down there?
Yep, and there again with a lot of the municipalities, they realize that they've got to do something different too, or else it's going to be a ghost town here eventually.
So Chautauqua, they really went out on a limb, I would say, but they have a contract with a developer to do, is it
Swiderski.
500 housing units?
Yep, and
So what's gonna happen in
multifamily.
Chautauqua? I mean, things are gonna change dramatically within the next few years. So that would be another way of going about it, of growing your museums, because how can it help but grow if you grow your community by that?
Right, and part of it too is, I would imagine everybody has handouts for the museums. Are they all in your city halls? Where else are you throwing them, putting them at so you can get them out to people? We're gonna start and I know they used to be around, the old welcome wagon, you know, from the 50s and 60s. We're gonna fire one up again here through our office for Barron County, because we have people come in all the time and they don't have a clue where anything is. And we're gonna come up with little packets, so we'll have Pioneer Village, we'll have all, whoever's in Barron County and here will have something in that packet to give them. Because I want them here, I want families here, I want them to be welcome, I want them to be out spending money, visiting all these places, but they gotta know that they're here. We've got a, what's called Barron County Today. It's not a tourism magazine, it's more of a relocation guide. It tells you everything about all the municipalities, and I wanna keep it that way, but I want a little bit more marketing oomph to it rather than just a relocation guide type of thing. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was thinking in terms of, you know, high-speed internet and making it attractive to live in the rural areas and whatever. You have more and more people that can work from home. It could also be a lure to try to get some of those people to live up here, and nothing else here, away from all the storms and hurricanes and.
I agree, I agree.
It could be, and it's a even though it may be expensive for us to live here, for other people, this is probably an inexpensive region of the country to live.
Yep, I agree, and we've built out, I guess on the broadband side, we've built out quite a bit of broadband in the last 4 or 5 years. We're waiting for BEAD, which is the last one that's out right now. And the state's getting like $1.1 billion to do more build outs. I've only got 2 kind of three swaths in Barron County that aren't really that well covered right now. And between the couple of different providers, they put in BEAD requests for all those areas. So it'll pretty much cover the entire county at that point. It's the federal program.
So I was just gonna say, in case you get kind of excited about economic development, I've been around here for 50 years and this is the first economic development guy we've ever had that has done something. So don't get to it, you know.
Thank you. It's been fun. My background has been in startups. That's all I've ever done all my life. Start a business, grow, sell, start, grow, sell. And then I went to work for a venture capitalist firm out of Florida. We bought 14 businesses, packed them all together, and eventually sold it. And that's how I ended back up here, because Mom and Dad had retired to Turtle Lake, and I kind of wanted to be around them. But that's the one thing I've treated the economic development here. A lot of times people who chase industries become smokestack chasers. I don't. What we've concentrated on is startups, and we've been successful at them. We've had 226 or so start, and only 4 have gone belly up. For some reason right now, it's the busiest I've ever been in 13, 14 years now with startups. And I don't know why, because money's the most expensive it's ever been right now. But I've got 31 in the works. There's 3 cells in there, but 31 startups, and I honestly think they're all gonna go at this point. So it's been a strange time. Yes, sir?
Yeah, Dave, you were probably referring to the West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning population projection.
Yep.
Yeah, if you want to take a look at that, the 7 counties that belong to West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission, they went out to 2050 on those 7 counties. I assume Northwest did the same thing with Burnett County in the Northwestern. In that, Polk County was the biggest loser of the 7 in West Central, down 22%. By 2050, that's 1 in 5 people in Polk County less. So the next 5 people you meet, just assume in Polk County, one of them's not gonna be here in 2050. So, you know, that's, everybody's looking at that. That was front page in the Inter-County Leader and all that kind of stuff, so.
See, when I look at that, I get mad, because I'm really competitive. I thought, watch, I'm gonna beat that number. You know, and so far we have, because they keep saying Barron County's gonna start, you know, we're still, we gained 4% last time, right? And I look at that more of a challenge than anything else. Is DOA comes out with, Department of Administration comes out with those 2, and I'm ready to throw myself on my sword after I read them, you know? But then I just look at it and I'm gonna beat all these numbers that they put on there, and so far so good. But again, what it boils down to is you guys gotta roll the play and all that, because you're giving stuff for people to do. And that's kind of the key, is we need those amenities if we're gonna get the families and people in here. So, and from my standpoint, economic development, we talk nonstop, Pioneer Village and us, because I need to see it grow. I need to see it get bigger. I need to see it be successful, because it gives me more to do type of thing as far as amenities. So, yes.
You know, where I used to live, they actually had a column in the newspaper that featured on a week, well, I don't know if it was a weekly basis, but featured young individuals that relocated back. Are they doing that here?
No, I wish.
Because, you know, it was a really engaging feature, and it was individuals that grew up in the area and then came back, and essentially, you know, why did you come back? What does this place have to offer? And it was a really good way of trying to promote, maybe reach out to more of those families.
Yeah, what we ended up looking for some of those individuals, and it took forever to try to find them. But we made deals with some of the school districts where I had to pay, but it's fine. If you'll do mailers to your alumni, they seem to have a fairly good idea of where they are. Can you include Barron County stuff, marketing stuff in there and eventually we would get calls every now and then to my office for that. So it was successful, but it wasn't really, that would be fascinating.
And then at Thursdays at the U, and I apologize, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but there was this wonderful, you might be aware of it, presentation of a documentary filmmaker who, I believe he was working out of the Twin Cities, and he's relocated to Chautauqua. And he's able to do everything, I mean, he's putting together some really awesome stuff. And he's able to do everything that he's doing, he's able to do from Chautauqua. That's my understanding, you know, based on viewing the recording of it. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go to the live event. But, you know, that's something too to look at. And then, you know, you have these stories like, when is it, Northwood Cycle in Rice Lake?
Yep.
I think that owner also is another individual that came back. She grew up in Rice Lake.
I helped them put
Yeah,
that deal
yeah, I
together
mean,
for that, yeah.
Just ways of getting those stories out.
Yep, I
and
agree.
Getting those
I
circulated.
agree.
Yeah.
And then what, you've used Rice Lake TV, right? Done, yeah, because depends on the county, some have public access TV stations, some don't. I use them as much as I can, because it's a great way to get it out, not only just to Rice Lake, but they podcast everything as well, so you can get it anywhere. So I'd say try to match up with your, and maybe even come up, I bet James would be interested in doing some small stuff like that in some of the other areas around here too. I could talk to him about it. We're doing more this year, it isn't started yet, because we've got a new website. So we're gonna do more podcasts on that. And so we'll see what that takes. I don't have that scheduled till July is where we're gonna start working on that. But we'll see what comes of that. But that's why I'm so passionate about this. We've gotta have these as a big part of stuff to do. Yes.
I can't say this is local, but when we were in California, we have a little tiny trailer, so we camp basically under solar power. And there were so many young people in their trucks, their vans, their minivans, working
Yep.
from these places. I mean, these little campgrounds in the middle of nowheres. And it was very interesting talking to them, and I mean, some of them were in their 20s, some were in their 40s, 50s. And, you know, eventually they're gonna have to land and live somewhere.
Correct. Yep.
And you know, this area is perfect for them, so I mean, the idea of doing the internet and having that is important.
And we're
That's what
actually,
that's where they camped. If they didn't have good internet, they went to another cheap
Yep.
campsite.
yeah, and we're actually working on something with Rice Lake for small homes, not tiny homes with
Yeah.
wheels, but small homes, like 500-600 square feet type of thing. Yeah, very small, but what we're finding is, if you do a 1-bedroom, 1-bath with a loft type of thing, or 1-bedroom, 1-bath, a little bit longer, 600 square feet, we've got seniors saying, I can't live in my,
Yeah,
like my mom has a hell of a time
yeah,
up and down the steps.
right.
Right? She needs something on one level, she would thrive in something like that, instead of the house she's in. Me, I could live in that, but I need an 80 by 200 storage shed behind me for all my junk type of thing. But we're working on that right now to you know, young kids, here's your my first home was like a $12,000 mobile home, you know? But that doesn't exist anymore, the starter homes.
Yeah, so I have a question. I was raised in Turtle Lake. The only time I really left was when I went to college, and then I had a job in Superior for a year, and then I came back. But how many of you are in your hometown? So there's,
Well, quite a few.
I've
Okay.
been married my old high school boyfriend. I live on the farm I grew up on.
Oh, that's great.
so, okay, well, that's interesting.
So, is there others that went and came back?
Yeah, went and
Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
How about, and the other one's just transplants, right?
Yep.
Okay, good, you know.
I just have a transplant story to share. Friend who's a professional and has a good job in Rice Lake, and wife who just wants to live in Ohio with her family so badly and misses her family. And and they have a whole bunch of kids, like 5 or something like that, or 6.
Good for them.
And I say, you know, this is a place where your kids are safe, where you have good schools. Just recently, a post, you know, we went to the kids' concert here, and this kid got an award there, and this kid's doing this and this special program. If we were in a big city, our kids wouldn't have the opportunities that they have now.
No.
It's real, and they're smart, and they figured it out.
Yep, and that's what I found, like, my daughter number 2, Rice Lake, when she graduated, moved to Minneapolis, St. Paul to go to school. Well, she found Minneapolis, nirvana, okay? I thought, she's never coming back, till she got married and started having kids. She says, I don't wanna raise my kids in this. Because, you know, kind of shoot your way in and shoot your way out type of thing. So she's back now. And that's what I'm looking for, is more families like that that wanna come back home.
2 of my 3 came back to Chautauqua. One is in southern Wisconsin in a small town, but 2 out of the 3, and so now with my grandkids, that makes 8 generations that we've been there, which is pretty
Yeah, that's
awesome.
great. That's great. So I won't keep you any longer, I think, at this point, but what I'll offer is if anybody has any specific needs, I don't care where you are, just get a hold of me, and we'll see what we can do for you. It's kind of been weird because I've gotten calls from all over this. I got a call Saturday night from a manufacturer in Canada that wants to open a plant here in Wauwatosa. Why are you calling Rice Lake for Wauwatosa? So we helped him. He's gonna, put him in touch with him. He's good. So I'll work with anybody. Just let me know if you have specific needs, and I'll see if I can match it up with you. But I'll send you all this stuff for AI because it is fascinating, the stuff that's going on. So.
And we have an afternoon program on AI as well.
Oh, perfect.
And I think you already know, again, that's why I didn't bring it up, but we also have a very talented documentary filmmaker, I think, who went out to California and has come back here and has worked with the museum as well.
Yep.
And I just.
No, John, very well.
Yeah, you're already
Yep,
well.
very well.
with him, so,
You know, we helped him out at a
Lot of
Cheeseheads
talent,
film.
lot of
You know,
talent.
exactly. You know, he's a pro at self-promotion. He's good at it. You know. So, no, I love working with him. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And you have my information. If anybody needs it, you can get it out.
Yep, yes, thank you very much.
Yep,
This is
thank
very
you.
helpful.
Come for a museum.
I am. I'm going to now.
Bring your mom.
I know. Get her away from the food bank.
There we go.
Food pantry. You know. Thanks a lot. See you later.
Thank you.
So we're gonna have 5 minutes before we start the next, because he just got here, we gotta make sure we can get his program on the television, so.